Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. This time, we're going to be exploring learning apps. Those apps that are really changing education as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
So that we've been looking at a bunch of different sources,
Right.
articles about trends, research on, what makes an app good for learning, and some cool stuff about apps for kids.
Mm-hmm.
We really want to figure out which apps are making a difference,
Yeah.
and more importantly, like why they matter,
Mm-hmm.
for everyone, not just kids.
It's pretty amazing to see how far these learning apps have come. Like, we're not just talking about, extra help with schoolwork anymore.
Right.
These apps are like creating entirely new ways to learn, reaching students, well, really anyone who wants to learn, in places where traditional education just wouldn't be possible.
That's true.
And they can be tailored to like your specific needs, and they even make tough subjects like, algebra actually fun.
Yeah. Okay, so let's dive into what we found. Our sources show a pretty diverse landscape of learning apps.
Mm-hmm.
There are apps that focus on specific subjects,
Right.
like Splash Learn or Prodigy for math,
Yeah.
Duolingo, or Memrise for languages.
Uh-huh.
Then there are those that focus on building particular skills,
Yeah, I see what you mean.
like ABC Mouse if you want to get better at reading,
Okay.
or Scratch Junior for learning to code.
Oh, that's cool.
And then, of course, we can't forget those platforms that cover a lot of ground.
Right.
Khan Academy is a perfect example.
Absolutely, yeah.
It covers a ton of subjects. And then there are platforms like Coursera and Udemy,
Yeah.
which, they offer more in-depth courses, often, even college-level stuff. It's pretty crazy to think that all these great learning resources are just, like, right there, easy to access.
It really is amazing. I mean, you can learn almost anything from your phone these days.
Exactly. But that's also part of the problem.
Oh, yeah.
It's like information overload, right? So how do we, as learners, sift through all of it? Like, how do we pick a learning app that's actually going to help us learn?
That's where the research we looked at really comes in handy. One study published in the British Educational Research Journal,
Oh, okay.
it really dug into what makes a learning app effective. The features that actually help people learn.
Got it.
They looked at 5 learning apps.
Okay.
And these apps were part of the Global Learning XPRIZE competition.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, so that competition was all about finding ways to like improve literacy and numeracy, especially in developing countries.
So important stuff.
Yeah, really impactful.
What did they find?
Well, the study found that 2 apps, 1 Billion and KitKit,
Okay.
they did the best in their field trials. Like, kids using those apps learned the most.
Wow, that's interesting.
And it turned out that both of those apps had 6 key features in common.
6 features. Okay, I'm all ears.
All right, so those features were autonomous learning, which basically means the app lets kids learn on their own without an adult hovering over them all the time.
Right. Makes sense.
They also included motor skills. They had a really clear structure to the tasks. They were engaging,
Right.
and they had language that wasn't too difficult for the learners.
Makes sense. What was the last one?
Oh, right, and personalized elements, like they adapted to the individual learner in some way.
I see. So they really thought about how kids learn best.
Exactly. And here's the really amazing part. These apps were tested with kids in remote Tanzanian villages. Kids who weren't even going to traditional schools.
Oh, wow. So these features really made a difference in a tough learning environment.
Absolutely. It shows that these features aren't just like some theory. They actually led to better learning. And that gives us something to think about when we're picking a learning app, right?
Yeah, totally. So it's not all about the bells and whistles, although those can be fun. It's really about how the app is designed to help you learn.
Exactly. But things change fast, don't they?
Right.
And one of the biggest changes in education right now is AI, artificial intelligence.
AI, yeah. Everyone's talking about AI these days.
Yeah, and for good reason. A lot of the sources we looked at talk about how AI is making learning apps even more personalized,
Right.
and creating entirely new learning experiences.
Give me an example.
Sure, like there are adaptive learning platforms like Newton and Cadaptive
Okay.
that actually change the content to fit each student's needs. It's like having a personal tutor in your phone.
Wow, that's wild.
It is. And then there are AI virtual mentors like Cogni
Okay.
that can actually grade your written work and give you feedback.
Hold on. Really?
Yeah, almost like a real teacher. And then there's generative AI,
Generative AI. Okay.
things like Aclavia and ChatGPT.
Yeah, GPT. Yeah, I've heard of that.
Everyone has. These platforms can like create practice questions, quizzes,
Right.
and even simulate job interviews.
No way.
It's incredible. Imagine how helpful that could be. you know, getting ready for a test
Mm,
or like practicing real world skills.
totally.
It's like having a personalized learning buddy right there in your pocket.
But it's not all about, the fanciest AI and stuff.
Right.
We also had to think about accessibility.
Oh, absolutely. We can't forget about that.
Like, our sources really emphasized how important it is for everyone to be able to use these apps,
Hmm.
especially, people with disabilities and students who might not have the best resources.
Yeah. And it goes back to that research we were talking about, how those features like autonomous learning and clear language were so important for the students in Tanzania.
Exactly. Because if an app needs constant internet, or you have to be like a super strong reader to use it, or it requires like really complicated movements,
Yeah.
a lot of people are going to miss out.
Exactly. It's going to exclude so many people.
Right.
But the good news is that there are platforms out there that are prioritizing accessibility.
That's good to hear.
Like you've got Khan Academy and Simply Learn,
Uh,
and they offer offline learning, which is huge.
yeah, that makes a big difference.
And then apps like Duolingo and Memrise,
Right.
they have support for lots of different languages.
Right. So that helps a lot of people.
Yeah, it does. And we're also seeing more and more adaptive technologies.
Oh, yeah.
Things specifically designed for learners with different needs.
That's awesome. So it's not just about the features, though,
Yeah,
right?
right.
It's also about making sure the content itself is inclusive,
Mhm.
representing different cultures and backgrounds.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Okay, so we've covered like how these apps actually help people learn, the AI stuff,
Hmm.
accessibility.
Hmm.
But let's be real for a second. Even the best app in the world won't work if it's boring.
Oh, you're so right.
We had to keep learners engaged.
Absolutely, that's key.
Sure.
Student engagement and motivation are so important for effective learning. A lot of our sources really hammered that home.
Yeah.
And they showed how apps are using things like gamification, interactive elements,
Mhm.
and storytelling to make learning fun and keep people coming back for more.
It's amazing. Like some of the examples are so creative. There's this app called Teach Your Monster to Read,
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
where, kids go on these adventures with monsters and learn to read along the way.
That's so cute.
And Prodigy Math, which has this whole fantasy world where students are battling monsters with math skills.
That sounds like fun.
And then there's Memrise, which uses real-world video clips and like really immersive scenarios to teach languages.
Oh, wow.
It's cool how these apps tap into what makes learning fun naturally.
Yeah, totally.
The curiosity, that feeling you get when you figure something out, and even a little bit of healthy competition.
Absolutely. I think what's really interesting is how these apps are making it hard to tell the difference between education and entertainment.
True.
They're showing us that learning can be fun, that it can be engaging, and something you actually want to do.
Which brings us back to you, the listener. What are your learning goals?
Yeah.
Or what are you passionate about learning?
Yeah,
What kind of learning experience really works for you?
I love that. Take some time to explore and see what's out there, keeping these principles in mind.
Yeah.
You might be surprised by what you find. And don't be afraid to try different things. The best app is the one you're actually going to use, right?
Exactly.
Remember, learning should be an adventure, not a chore. These apps give you the power to learn new things, improve your skills, and learn at your own pace.
Speaking of exploring, one of our sources actually talked about the future of education.
Oh, really?
It highlighted these new trends in how learning apps are being developed.
Mm.
It's kind of speculative, futuristic,
Yeah,
but it's cool to think about the possibilities.
for sure. What do they say?
Well, the article said we'll probably see even more personalization and customization with apps adjusting to how each person learns best,
Yeah.
like as they're using it.
Wow. So in real time. Now,
Yeah, exactly. And they talked about using more gamification and immersive technologies like virtual and augmented reality.
VR and AR. Oh, man.
Imagine like taking a virtual field trip to ancient Rome
Whoa.
or like dissecting a frog in augmented reality without actually having to touch it.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Pretty crazy stuff. We're still early in all of this,
Right.
but you can't deny the impact these apps are having.
For sure.
They're like making education available to everyone, giving people access to knowledge and skills that they maybe wouldn't have had before.
I love that, breaking down those barriers.
Think about it. You can learn from world-renowned experts,
Yeah.
earn certifications, even get entire degrees, all
Yeah.
from your phone or tablet.
It's amazing, the world at your fingertips.
It's just the beginning, too.
Yeah.
As this technology keeps getting better, Who knows how learning apps will change education in the future?
The possibilities are endless.
But let's get down to brass tacks here.
Yeah, okay.
We've thrown a lot of info at you, the listener.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the apps our sources actually recommend?
Good question. We should get specific.
Yeah, right. Time for some examples. Let's start with the apps that teachers are really excited about.
Okay, yeah.
One source, a blog post by The Weary Educator. It had recommendations from over 30 teachers.
The weary educator. I like that. Sounds like someone who really knows what works in the classroom and what doesn't.
Exactly. And for younger learners, they really liked apps like Seesaw, which is like a learning management system for kids,
Oh, that makes sense. Get them started early.
and gamified platforms like Quizzes, Lookit, and Gimkit,
Mm-hmm.
for making review activities more fun.
That's smart.
And if you want to focus on reading skills, there are apps like ReadWorks and CommonLit.
Uh-huh.
They offer reading passages and comprehension questions.
Nice.
As students get older, middle school, high school,
Yeah.
the recommendations switch to apps that help with more complex learning.
Okay, I'm curious. What are some of those?
One that stood out was Newsela, which has current event articles written to different reading levels.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It's a great way to get kids interested in what's going on in the world while they're improving their reading skills.
Absolutely. Real-world application is so important.
Another popular one is Google Classroom.
Oh, yeah. Everyone uses Google Classroom.
It's super versatile. You can manage assignments, talk to students, and use digital resources.
Right.
They even talked about how cool it is to integrate YouTube videos with questions
Oh, it's interesting.
to create more interactive learning experiences.
Yeah. Interactive is key. You want apps that get students involved, not just sitting there passively absorbing information.
Exactly. And there's so many ways to do that. Like Peer Deck lets teachers make interactive presentations with quizzes, polls, even drawing activities.
That sounds cool.
And Padlet lets students work together and share ideas on, like, a virtual bulletin board.
Oh, like a digital brainstorming session.
And then there's Nearpod, which offers immersive multimedia lessons with quizzes, polls, videos, even 3D simulations.
Wow, that sounds high tech.
It's amazing how these apps are using technology to make learning so much more dynamic and interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not all about learning in the classroom, though.
Right.
A lot of these apps are really great for, like, learning on your own, too.
Oh, absolutely.
A few of our sources talked about apps like Khan Academy, Coursera, and Udemy.
Mm-hmm.
They have so many courses on pretty much any subject you can think of.
It's true. And if you want to go beyond the usual school stuff, there's Simply Learn,
Right.
which focuses on like job skills and professional development.
That's cool.
And Solo Learn, which teaches you how to code and build websites.
It's wild. We really have so much knowledge right at our fingertips.
It's true. It's a great time to be a learner.
I feel like we could keep talking about specific apps forever. There's just so many.
We could. Our sources mentioned so many cool options.
Yeah.
Everything from language learning with Duolingo and Memrise.
To science apps like the NASA app and Brain Pop Jr.
But instead of just listing a bunch of apps, we really want you to go out and explore for yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Think about what you're interested in, what you want to learn, what kind of learner you are.
Yeah.
Then just dive in and see what's out there.
Exactly. You might find something you never expected.
And don't forget what we talked about earlier.
Oh, right.
Look for apps that, have those key features
Good design.
that are accessible to everyone.
Yes. Very important.
And of course, that make learning fun.
Because when learning is fun, it's something you'll want to keep doing your whole life.
Exactly. And here's another tip. Think about where you learn best.
Oh, that's interesting.
Some apps are better for, quiet study time by yourself,
Okay.
while others are great for collaborating and talking with other people.
Right. That makes sense.
So think about whether you're a visual learner, an auditory learner, or a kinesthetic learner.
If you're visual, you might like apps with lots of pictures, diagrams, videos.
Yeah.
If you're more auditory, you might like apps with audio, lectures, podcasts, things like that.
Okay.
And if you're kinesthetic, you'll probably want apps with hands-on activities, simulations, games.
It's all about finding what clicks for you.
There's no right or wrong way to learn.
Exactly.
This deep dive has really made me realize just how much potential these learning apps have.
Me too.
It feels like we're at this turning point in how we think about education.
Yeah, it's an exciting time.
We're moving away from the idea that learning only happens in a classroom with textbooks
Right.
and moving towards this world where anyone can learn anything, anywhere, anytime.
It's pretty empowering to have so much control over your own learning.
It really is. And it's
Yeah.
exciting to think about how this technology will shape education in the future.
I agree.
As we wrap up, we want to leave you with one last question to think about.
Okay, hit me.
What learning challenges could we solve by creating new, innovative apps?
That's a good question.
What's missing in the current landscape? What kind of app would you make, if you could?
Ooh, that's a fun one to think about.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah,
Share them with us on social media, and let's keep this conversation going.
sounds good.
Because at the end of the day, the future of learning is up to all of us.
Well said. I think that's a great place to leave it.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.